Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm back here with Ryan, who we often talk movies, and we're slowly working our way up through things in some kind of order, right? We did three
Yep,
Superman films and Supergirl.
we're still in the 80s, hoping to get the Superman 4.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, that's something I haven't heard very many people say.
Yes, we're used to watching really terrible movies.
Yeah, it's and I know you the high point for you is definitely Supergirl, right? That's that's been the pinnacle.
It's a pinnacle of something.
Well, it makes sense to skip around or just for a moment because there's this cultural moment. You know, the entire world is talking about the Snyder Cut, and you sat through it all.
Yeah,
Did you watch it?
I watched the extended Whedon version, and then I watched the Snyder Cut like 2 days later. So I had a whole week of nightmares and everything. No,
Why did you do that? Yes.
Well, I want to prepare. And honestly, I totally forgot that this movie existed. Like, to me, this movie and Batman versus Superman had combined into the same movie. And I just vaguely, like, I only saw this movie once, and I just remember just being like, oh, thank God it's over. And it's the mother boxes and Steppenwolf. And it's like, I forgot these guys even existed. So when I watched the extended version, I was like, oh, okay. This is slightly better than I remember, and there is an extended version of the original that is it's an hour longer. I mean, it's probably better. And then there's this the Snyder Cut, which is about 80-90% the same movie, but even longer.
Yeah.
So, but with different cuts and less jokey, and we really should separate the movie from the epilogue, which is a whole nother wild thing.
Whole nother movie.
A whole nother, well, we'll see about that. But the reality is, like, the original theatrical version is really terrible.
Right.
The extended cut is slightly better, and the Snyder Cut is slightly better, but it's still just a really depressing pile. It looks nice. I don't know. It's like it keeps getting better. Maybe a 10-hour version would be even better. Who knows?
Well, we can only hope.
Yeah, but I mean, it's sort of like Marvel, comparing it to Marvel Endgame, which everybody's doing, is like Marvel had 20 movies, 40 hours of movies to build up to this one 3-hour movie, and Whedon had like 2 hours to introduce 3 new superheroes and a new big bad and to kill them all off or whatever. And then Snyder did the same thing, but he did it in 4 hours. So I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to compare. It's fine. It's more like I just don't like Snyder movies at all. I mean,
to say it bluntly, yeah.
I mean, they're great to look like. I mean, they're nice paintings. It's just like he's gonna just do the coolest thing he can think of and just throw it out there, and it's like, oh, okay, that's great. So I want there to be more movies, so I don't want to be too down on it, but it's an incomprehensible mess.
I drug you to see Sucker Punch.
Yes, we saw Sucker Punch together, and that is the same type of movie. There's some stuff in that movie that is definitely unique.
Yeah, it's very. I like it. They're wonderful paintings. They are beautiful. I mean, I think Snyder can pull out a visual like nobody's business. He makes really pretty looking films.
No, I mean, Watchmen is like it's interesting. It's certainly it's kind the comic kind of goes along with his general depression, and it kind of fit, but you just kind of walked away from that movie thinking, oh, this could have been done better. And the TV show, the HBO show, while not really on the source material, was a better version of all those characters. So
maybe the answer is Snyder should be doing HBO shows and just go ahead and do the Snyderverse as a as a season like Game of Thrones, where you shoot 10 episodes and you take a year and a half off and do some more. Maybe that's the method for him.
No, I mean, the winner in all this is HBO Max, because I watch, both of these movies, and I am aware of them, and there's now at least, forevermore, there's a better version of this movie. So it's not, Justice League isn't totally dead. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, Snyder said he's not doing a sequel, and he has some other projects to do first, even if he would. And I don't know that, like 5 years from now, that they pull like Batman or Affleck to do Batman. That seems like this version is going to be kind of dead, even though we like all the characters and they can have their own movies. But what if AT&T or Warner went to their animated division, which is just cranking stuff out for HBO Max, and said, hey, let's do Snyder's Justice League trilogy, and he can just write it and we'll animate it.
I had the same thought. I think that's exactly what they should do. Is it's going to be very hard. You're not going to get all these actors back again. Ray Fisher obviously has big issues at this point with Warner Media, and it seems very unlikely. Zack Snyder has other projects. Ben Affleck's not returning to Batman. You have a lot of issues there. But why can't you do, at a fraction of the cost, some really nice animated films, have Snyder continue to write this stuff, not just his trilogy. I mean, hell, do 20 movies. I mean, just go on forever. You could have the Snyderverse existing.
Well, just have like a 2 or 3 season, Snyder's Justice League, animated, and just do 20 hours of stuff.
I like that groan right there.
I mean, he said like there's some sort of Batman, and there's more Batman versus Superman stuff where Lois Lane gets killed or something, and that's what causes the apocalypse, or
right, because he starts dating Lois, basically.
I mean, we could tone that down a little bit.
It's an understatement. What do you think of the movie itself? They obviously put some more effort into Steppenwolf. They gave him kind of wind chime loincloth armor. How'd you like that?
I mean, they took the original movie and spent more money on all the effects, and they took longer to put it all together. So of course it looks better.
Yeah.
And they added Darkseid into it, and it's all better.
Now, you're not we've been doing these comic movies. Obviously, you watch a lot of movies, but you're not a big comic reader.
No, I'm not much of a reader.
Okay, fair. I love it. You're a very smart guy, who does very, very smart things. But
no, I mean, if for me, it's not Justice League unless Apache Chief is there.
There you go. When are we getting Apache Chief in the Snyder Cut? I love it. I think as somebody who's coming into it, who's not read all these comics, because one of the things that drove a lot of this was comic fans, and this was a double-edged sword where people said the comic fans were toxic fans and all the rest, but the comic fans saying this isn't true to the comics. I want this new cut. You didn't read the comics. You're watching this movie. Things like Darkseid and some of these characters, the character of Flash and Cyborg, some of the things that deviated a lot from the comics. Like, what was your take on it? It strikes me that the stuff that probably annoyed you is the same stuff that annoyed the comic fans, just in different ways.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of vaguely aware of some of them. I think they did a better job of establishing, Cyborg and Flash in the Snyder version, because they actually, took 15 minutes to establish, their backstories. I don't know. At this point, you've seen the Marvel movies, you've seen all these things. It's like, oh, there's a big bad guy this is a pretty common trope. I mean, it's like, okay, yeah. I didn't freak out when I saw Darkseid. It's like, I've seen him in, various things before, but
he's had the Infinity Gauntlet in that other movie.
Yeah, in the end, he's the same guy, right?
so many people cringing right now. No, it is. I do agree with you there. I think, but
it seems to me like that DC is more of the we had kind of similar conversations where Marvel is like the troubled heroes where they have like realistic issues, whereas the DC is like these are just gods and superheroes, and they even went back and established that in the first fight that the old gods were part of the thing, and Atlantis and all that stuff, and even like some of the modern day Justice League cartoons, all the superheroes are all kind of grumbly with each other. They're all kind of they don't want to really work together.
Yeah,
and some of that kind of comes through, but I don't know. It was okay.
What were some of your what were some of the moments that just made you cringe? You're watching this movie. We'll start with the bad stuff first. What did you just hate that they added, or you're just like, why didn't you cut this?
Well, I mean, that fishing village song, they could have cut that. I mean,
why did the fishing village song?
I mean, you got the time. There's no editor on this film. It's like if they shot it, it's in there.
The whole Bruce Wayne goes to a fishing village and has a conversation with Aquaman. I mean, that like went on forever. I kept thinking if they were cutting this up into like half-hour episodes, that would have been an entire episode, just him hanging out in the bar, having a conversation, and a very long song. Yeah,
right. Yeah, no, that was. I mean, they did it better than they did in the other one because, I don't know. In the other one, he sees like a cave painting of the mother boxes, and and there was some sort of scene where Batman is baiting the parademons who eat fear.
Yeah,
and that's how they beat Steppenwolf, is they make him afraid. And that was all. That was the old version, and that was all just crap. I mean, so so this is all better. There's a lot of cyborg. There's a lot of cyborg out there.
Like in Doom Patrol, by the way, we spoilers for this film. Yeah,
like if you haven't seen it yet, you're not going to see it. So who cares?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. You cyborg.
No. It's like I'm just thinking. Like my kids watch the Teen Titans Go show, so I get a lot of that cyborg. There's the Doom Patrol cyborg. There's this cyborg. It's like there's a lot of cyborg in Justice League now, or in all of DC for some reason.
Yeah. Well, he's the black character. I mean,
yeah. Okay.
But
why no Apache Chief? Why no Apache Chief?
I agree. No, I'm with you. It feels like DC's like, well, we landed on Cyborg, so we're just going to use him everywhere. But I have the same problem. My kids watch Teen Titans Go. They like that Cyborg. They like Booyah. They like all that. And then I'm watching Justice League, and my kid comes into the room, and she's like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Cyborg." She's like, "That is not Cyborg. No, thank you," and just leaves.
Yeah. Right. I mean, and we should probably get around to the epilogue. It's just because that just feels like it's him just trying to get more movies, or just like, well, it's like, let's just have Jared Leto, be the Joker again.
Yeah,
sure.
I wonder why. I mean, it was a big casting at the time. Jared Leto came in, and it was in Suicide Squad. It was a cameo. Yeah. I mean, he's barely in that movie. And they were talking about in the DC universe how this was a big deal, and this was a big name for a big villain and everything else. But I mean, all told, Leto's getting less than 5 minutes of screen time for this entire cinematic universe. Maybe this is kind of a gift to that. I mean, what was the? I mean,
yeah. No, I mean, if they're not going to make more movies, why did they even put out the epilogue other than just purely fan service for everybody who's? I mean, but
had nothing wrong with that. I mean, fan service is nice. You need a little bit of that, but it does feel like a tease. I mean, if they're never going to come back to it, it's like, hey, how would you like this this death metal version of the Justice League? Look at these people; they're all gritty and dirty.
Yeah. And it does kind of feel like they threw in, the Martian Manhunter, John Johns.
I felt that was really clunky, that bit, including him telling him, he's like, by the way, you can call me the Martian Manhunter. And then he like slowly twirls. Like, what was that fly away where he does a full 360 twirl up into the air? It's like,
right. Well, somebody was saying that they were going to introduce Green Lantern there, or that was where Ryan Reynolds would have been. But again, if you're just throwing out footage for footage sake, I think at that point. So
yeah.
I
gotta go circle back. I like your idea of we get to putting out an animated universe of this stuff. I think that would be pretty solid.
DC has a pretty good history with the animated stuff.
They really do. Yeah,
as opposed to their movies.
That feels like a logical way to continue forward without getting mired in all the other stuff, and then people could continue to ignore it or watch it as they want and call it a day. But you referenced it earlier, but it's worth going back. The fight with Joss Whedon building up to Steppenwolf and making him feel fear, and the entire villain itself felt like this has seemed like it's been a problem with DC. Not to hop over to another movie, but Wonder Woman was a really good movie with a pretty shitty third act, I thought.
Yeah,
and the Joss Whedon cut kind of was the same. This is clearly not the big bad. It's a sub boss. He was defeated in a super stupid way. When you have Superman,
he's pretty indestructible, and he can, punch you across the planet. So,
yeah,
once he's on your team, yeah,
you're done.
Yeah.
No, I felt like that was probably the biggest redeeming value of the Snyder Cut, is that they did make that final battle significant, or it felt like it was a bigger deal, and it didn't have that same kind of weak ending.
Yeah, well, they had it was the Flash had to sort of go back in time just to get the charge up, so they did have all the heroes dying for a second. Yeah, you got to watch that.
Yeah, I like how Snyder was able to treat us to multiple heroes dying, and then future evil Batman dream where they're bad or dusty. Like, we gotta see the heroes in lots of problems. But what about one of the scenes that struck me as it was meant to, I think, play off as cool, but it also felt like it kind of broke the character a little bit. They had gone through this entire movie where Wonder Woman is really the symbol of hope. She's kind of the optimistic one. Her movies kind of pull into that. She's serious and she gets stuff done. But what was it with the scene where they hit Steppenwolf? He's clearly defeated. Aquaman's stabbed him. Superman's punched him. He's screwed. They've knocked off his horn. And then Wonder Woman just shows up and lops off his head in slow motion. Did that seem gratuitous to you at that point, or what's Wonder Woman doing cutting off heads?
Well, in the Snyder world, all the superheroes just go around killing people. So this kind of fits with the Snyder thing. The one thing that they didn't really explain, or maybe didn't make sense as a non-comic person, is the what is the anti-life equation thing?
Yeah,
and it's this is where you lost the anti-life equation when you were defeated that time. Remember? Oh, you don't remember, or
yeah,
that was kind of clunky. I mean, it's just one of those things that
it did feel like with 4 hours they could have gone ahead and explained that a bit better, or set that up, as opposed to they're really relying on the comics. But I mean, even the comics. And I suspect there's some comic people who would disagree with me. They never, the anti-life equation, that entire business seems always like that's the mystery box thing that they pull out when they want.
Right. No, and they have the mother boxes and as the MacGuffin, and then they're like, oh, now we found the big MacGuffin for the next movie.
Yeah,
it's all right.
Can you imagine? I'm trying to see a world where this would have done really well. It went out to it had gone out to the theaters as planned, and Snyder had truly gotten a trilogy out of this. What would that have looked like?
I don't think there's any way that I believe one of the reasons why Whedon was brought in was to shrink this down to a shorter movie, because everybody was upset at Superman versus Batman being too long and all that. But it's like we said, the longer this movie is, the more sense it kind of makes. I mean,
yeah, I think he needed to have that time to tell his story. Yeah. It's just that time maybe wasn't a story that was very commercially viable.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I would have hated to sit through this in a theater, but it's like sitting at home. I can tolerate it. I can get up at the breaking it up into chapters again. Like we said, I think this works really good as a streaming thing.
Yeah.
Like you've seen that Tarantino did a Hateful Eight with the different chapters and a kind of re-edit longer version. It's like that's a good thing to do for streaming.
No, and I like that. I like this new edit. I think that this it feels like an awkward product in the end. It's a movie. It's got some big characters in it. Obviously, I think DC wants a big franchise. They want to be able to sell this to kids, but then you have Batman running around saying "fuck," and that's going to be tough when you're trying to the kids. And you've got this very, very dark and gritty. I mean, if truly the plot for the second movie or the future movies in this nightmare world was Batman nails Lois and this causes Superman to get really pissed at him and start murdering people. I mean, I don't know. Like, how do you have kids in that movie? Like,
yeah, no, it's yeah, no, I mean, it's one of the things. It's like they don't really have the tone right for these superheroes.
Yeah, at least not in this venue. I think if you with what they did with Watchmen, with the series that they had, and every week we got another chapter out on HBO, and here it is. That feels like where the Snyder Cut in this universe belongs, where it could live and do well. But in terms of kind of your franchise product that you're putting out for everybody to see, worldwide, like would the Snyder Cut do well in China or?
Yeah, it just has to do too many things for the company and for everybody else to tell like a extremely compelling story, because each of these characters is, or at least two or three of them, are going to get their own movies or sequels. Or
I mean, we are getting another Aquaman movie, and we're getting a Flash movie, and in theory they'll do a Wonder Woman 3. I mean, at one point they said they were up for a trilogy, but
sure,
I don't know where that sits now.
I mean, how many times can they bring back Chris Pine before
Yeah, well, you can have some other way to heal. He could be a ghost. Sure. They are doing another Superman movie with well, there's been a lot of speculation about what they're doing there. Ta-Nehisi Coates doing the script for that, and at least some rumors that Michael B. Jordan is involved there as a multiverse Superman, different Superman, obviously. Do you as a non-comic reader, I mean, we're hearing a lot of, the multiverse is something everybody understands. You can just throw these movies out there. They don't need to be connected. They can all live in their own. Is that appealing to you, or is that a negative?
I mean, I just want to be entertained when I watch something. So I don't care if there's a different The Batman coming out, or, I can understand that the Joker, the Taxi Driver version isn't the same as the Dark Knight. I can.
Yeah, you're okay. You could reconcile between Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson and all that. It doesn't stop you.
Yeah, no, I get it.
This is something that's been said a lot by DC and by others, and especially in the comics, which you wouldn't know, but there's been this ongoing kind of anxiety around. Fans are not going to be able to understand that there was a jokey Batman, or there was there's an Adam West Batman, and there's a Michael Keaton Batman, a Val Kilmer Batman. They just can't do it. So they've come up with really elaborate plot devices where they're like a crisis event, and then they restart the universe and they reboot all this as a way to kind of explain it. But everyone I've ever talked to says the same thing as you. I just want to be entertained, and I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's like, oh, she's a lady who has powers and has some sort of Greek thing, and but now she's modern and flies an invisible jet. I get it. I mean, Superman, I get it. He can fly and lift things and is only vulnerable to green rocks. And Green Lantern, he has a ring and he's afraid of the color yellow or something. I mean, sure. What's not to get?
I like how you boil it down there. That's nice. I don't know. The problem is I've really never met anyone who's like, I would love to watch superhero movies. I do not know why there's an Adam West Batman and why there is a Christian Bale Batman. Nobody can explain that to me, so forget it.
Yeah, it's more when they happen at the same time. It's like if there were like 3 different Batman movies and they all had different people and they were all going to get sequels, and that would be kind of weird and confusing.
Sure.
It's like there's the 90s Batman, and then there's the 2000s Batman, and then now there's Ben Affleck, and then there's going to be what's his name in the new one, and it's like, okay, they're all Twilight guy, yeah.
It's all fine. You're going to be okay.
I'll be fine.
Yeah. Back to the Snyder Cut. So, was there something missing kind of in this movie? It is a long movie. There wasn't really, a lot of these superhero movies, you have like a middle fight and you have a couple moments. This film, especially with the recut, it doesn't have that same kind of cadence it doesn't have the Marvel formula cadence. Was that a relief to get something different, or were you kind of like, did you find yourself just feeling it was pretty lopsided?
No, I thought it was fine. I mean, I'm just trying to think because I saw this movie basically twice, last week.
I don't know why.
But no, I mean, it starts up with him getting the 2 mother boxes. So there's, fights in underwater and on whatever island that is.
Mascaria, yeah. Were you excited to see him punch a horse?
I mean, we could talk about Wonder Woman 1984 because I really don't understand their culture or how big that island is, or because it seems like there's like millions of Amazons on horses, but they're all on the other side of the island, and it's like, well, we'll just go to the battlefield that we keep on the island, but nobody lives there. It's like, yeah, but there's millions of you, so probably I don't know. And they're all good with horses and swords, and that's a lot of horses.
Yeah. I cannot wait for us to do Wonder Woman 84 now at this point. That movie is a hot
culture is really weird. Like they just sit around and they watch other people compete in events that they can also compete in because they're all really great athletes.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to picture if how popular would the Super Bowl be if every single person watching the Super Bowl was also a star football athlete?
Yeah,
that would make it weird. There would be a lot of people shouting suggestions from the fans. I think that's. They should have had that in Wonder Woman, where in the audience, if somebody's like, "Don't leap through the ring there, dumb it." No, slide into the rolling rock. Come on,
you got to slide. Everybody knows you just got to slide.
So you had that scene. You get the 2 other boxes, and then you have a lot of setup. Basically.
Right, where you're building the team, but you're also you get the backstory of Flash and Cyborg there.
Yep,
and then and that was fine. And then you get Flash with the hot dog, which is great.
Sure.
And then there's the fight in the Gotham harbor.
Yeah,
that kind of unites them, and they get together, and they're like, well, we've got a mother box, so let's just get Superman back. And so then they get Superman back, and then they got to fight him for some reason.
Well,
and then,
yeah,
well, sure. I mean, who hasn't woken up and not known, anything,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's me every day.
Yeah. So of course it is. So then they lose the mother box there, and then they got to go to, Russia or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the big fight. So it works.
It's a big epilogue.
Yeah.
Of course, the original, the Joss Whedon film, you did get that epilogue with Lex Luthor on the yacht introducing Deathstroke.
But you also got the Superman versus Flash race.
Yeah, that's true. Which was so important. We all are very curious who would win in that race.
Well, that's the fan service of fan service, I suppose.
It is. It's fan service to some fan. I'm not sure which fan, but there's.
Well, I enjoy the Flash versus Superman fight because Flash is like not. you could just see that he's like, oh crap, this guy is on my level. And he has super, strength. So
yeah,
it's kind of negates his power because he can just punch me while in slow motion.
I enjoyed I enjoyed there were some moments in there I truly did enjoy, and I thought Snyder brought them out a lot better than Whedon did. In many ways, removing Whedon's humor made the film more enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, they don't really like to work together. They're all super powered and they all like to work alone. So yeah.
So we got that, but what about this Lex Luthor scene? Did it in the Snyder cut though? When you have that, and then you go on, it felt like that was a completely pointless epilogue. When you then strung on several more epilogues,
right? No, well, I mean, all the other. I mean, we can rank the epilogues as far as which ones are worthless versus useful. I mean, let's just throw Martian Manhunter for no reason. Let's have the Batman Nightmare for no reason. Let's have a Legion of Doom that has, Lex in it. I mean, okay, sure. Let's have all these things. I don't care.
It did feel like, so when we got to the epilogue, we go to the prison. It's not the right guy. He's laughing. We go to the yacht. We have that moment. Deathstroke's introduced. He's like, I'm not going to work with you. But then he tells him who Batman is. And he's like, I am going to work with you. And then we go into the future dream, I believe. Yeah, right. And then he is working with Batman. And there's Jared Leto for some reason. And they kind of offhandedly reference that Harley Quinn is dead. And evil Superman shows up. And then he wakes up. And the Martian Manhunter is there. There's kind of a like, hey, when like, let me off this ride kind of feeling.
Right. No, it just seems like this is the extended edition. Like you could have cut a half hour. I mean, as good as much as having the extra time helped this movie, it's like you could still cut a half hour of stuff that is setting up nonsense and still have a decent movie.
At what point in the movie did you find yourself pausing it so you could just see how much time was left?
Well, again, since I saw like the other version of this movie, 2 days before, it's like the first hour of this movie is mostly the same shots but longer.
Yeah.
So the first hour is like, this is I've been tricked into watching this movie again. But after I don't know, it kind of picks up at the Gotham fight, because the Gotham fight is different because Flash is actually involved in it, and Cyborg set up differently. So it's
Your Act 2 is you got to almost survive Act 1 to get to Act 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, don't watch both movies in the same.
Well, yeah, that's just dumb.
Nobody should ever do that again.
Yeah. Well, any other kind of last thoughts about this film that you had before we then return back to the 80s?
No, we're going back to the 80s. New Suicide Squad trailer today, though. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, nice and colorful. Like the James Gunn,
Yeah, all good. I think the winner idea here is kind of what you said earlier. I do think if Warner and HBO is smart at all, they get their animation studio connected up with Zack Snyder and they just complete this thing.
Yeah, they just put Snyder's name on it and use the same animators they've been using, whatever Korean house they have, and just turn that out. Yep.
Yep, perfect. All right. So okay, so from here it's Superman 4, and then eventually we're going to get to Marvel. I think they got Blade coming up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I drag you into watching those Bill Bixby Hulk movies. So.
Oh, those are made for TV movies though. So.
Oh, are we qualifying that? That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, let's not watch those.
That sounds good. Well, Ryan, thank you very much, and let me know your comments below about what you thought of the film, and thanks for joining me today.
All right, goodbye, nerds.